Welcome back. I'm with Marcia Mayhew of Mayhew Associates. Marcia, let's talk a little bit about how we measure. I mean, we've talked most of the show now about building a high-performing work environment and some of the things we might do. How do you know whether we're being successful, or are we just sort of talking to ourselves here?
The key is you can't manage what you don't measure. So we can sit here and talk about engagement. We can sit here and talk about all the great things that needs to be in a high-performance culture. But unless you have measurements around them, they're not going to go anywhere. So one of the key things that we have in our MAPS, Mayhew Associate Plans, happens to be what are the key result areas that we're looking for each individual, and then measurements around that. If we know that collaboration is key for us, if we know that making sure that you've got diverse thinking into it, then we also measure that critical thinking process, the decision-making process. So everybody has to provide examples of when they've used the decision-making process, and that's something that we measure. So we measure how often you use it, and we measure as simple as how you talk to clients, to as much as the deficiencies that are within your communication. Right. So it's something that that is not a complete science. It's also an art. But coming up with exactly what those measurements are, that they know ahead of time, every employee knows how they're going to be measured.
Well, what you're talking about is something that a lot of people have different sort of definitions of a balanced scorecard, but for me, a balanced scorecard is one where there's the financial deliverables, how many of these things did I do in a certain time frame, but also it's that character element. And if you don't have the character element, what you end up with is people who may get the job done, but frankly, they leave so much damage in their wake doing their job that Right. It's counterproductive for the organization as a whole.
Exactly. So yes, balanced scorecard is the key to any successful organization, but to really bring that engagement front, I measure all of the executive team members by their Mayhew Rewards points, by who they're rewarding points to. I measure the management team in that regard as well. So there's one spot on employee recognition. There's another area in terms of how they manage their teams to promote engagement, to promote recognition. So all of these are measured by, yes, qualitative and quantitative ways.
So when you talk about the qualitative ways, I mean, I now work in your organization. I've been given a map. Tell me how my deliverables tie right back to the strategic plan that you have. And so my view is that I should be able to look at what I do and track it right back to what the organization does. So I'm not just working in a vacuum, but I actually understand that I'm a contributing member.
Right, right. And that is the responsibility of everybody running their area. If they have a key result area that they're focused on, so my executive team has a key strategic initiative, it's up to them to let their entire team know where they need their assistance, and then it's put right on their map. And so that at the end of the year, to create that performance-based culture, you need performance-based pay. And the performance-based pay is linked into, right into those key strategic initiatives that person is tackling.
Have you ever found yourself in a position, I actually had this situation where I'd hired someone, I thought they would be just fabulous in the organization, and frankly, they were a bust. I hired them, I take full responsibility. But the wisdom that I got from someone that I reported to was, do they fit the culture of the organization? And for me, it was a resounding yes. And we were able to move that person to a new part of the organization where they became a huge success.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about how that process might work.
So, you know, it's very interesting. This is something that my mother, when she was more in the business, she was responsible for, and it's something that I've kind of taken and ran with, is creating career paths within the organization, and that is key to engagement, is showing the different places that people can go. But the career path is, you know, we have young interior designers that we're bringing in just out of college, and you know, they like the idea of being creative, but they're not sure if that's the profession that they want. So we provide opportunities to go through different areas within the company. They need 200 hours of furniture planning. So they see if they want to get more into that technical design. And while they're working in that area, they are exposed to sales. So then they also go back up into the design and have to complete some hours in project management. They'll get an idea of whether or not they like project management. If they do, once they complete their design certification, they can follow the project management. And then it's and then our designers are able to stay in interior design if that's the creative, and they feel more comfortable working in teams. And so what we do is show these career paths ahead of time and allow them to follow the path that they'd like. But the greatest thing is seeing some interior designers that we've got that are a little bit more independent, have a little bit more savvy sales skills, and we have picked people right from out of the design role, put them into our sales function, and let them grow. And somebody as high as my EVP of sales, who ran our design consulting services, realized that we had a fantastic team underneath her, and that team was growing. And also that team, we wanted to show different areas for growth for those people. And Joan happened to be the perfect person for our sales, because she led that consulting group and could go into consultative sales. So yes, it happens. And yes, we have pulled people that aren't working in one role. And we see that we at least look for other opportunities within the organization.
But the other thing is you've identified real,
career
superstars for your organization, and I think that's another thing that is important in terms of engagement is identifying people's strengths and actually customizing the opportunities within the organization so that they can grow, and not seeing it as sort of an expense, but truly an investment in the future of the organization.
One thing that is there is not enough in Canadian organizations is creating real formalized mentoring programs. And that is something that we are getting off the ground. And it happens more in our consulting group because of the nature of work. But creating true mentoring programs where the successful stars of an organization or the different executive team members will take on 2 to 3 employees for that year and really nurture them through different areas of development. And that's one thing that we're starting to get off the ground the last 2 years.
Well, and the interesting thing is that parallels some of our earliest comments in our discussion about it. It starts at the top.
Absolutely.
I mean, it starts from the leadership and moves down. Do you provide coaching support for some of the folks in your organization, or is that how does that fit, or is that tied into the mentoring thing?
It's tied into mentoring. So there's internal coaching, but there's also external coaching. And there are some star individuals that we have identified where we definitely see the need for, whether it's coaching in business acumen or professional coaching or life coaching. So we do identify, and if there is a request or a need that comes into us, we also look at those. The other thing that we do is, I see my role as Chief Education Officer, Chief Engagement Officer. My role really is to look for different programs out there, look at new ways of thinking about doing things and taking that back into the organization. I'm lucky to have a group that I go to, a coaching group that I go to, and I open it up to my executive team. So whenever there's opportunities for them to get involved, I make sure that they're involved. So.
Yeah, I think that more and more the top leaders in the business world recognize that their job in the leadership role is less about what they do and more about the behaviors they model and about building the engagement in an organization.
Absolutely.
Because frankly, if you look at successful organizations, there's always somebody at the top that has demonstrated how we're going to get to where we're getting.
Right.
And I think it's a real testament to the situation you found yourself in, where frankly some of the things were stacked against you, that there was an opportunity for people to say, oh yeah, I know why she's here. but you've done a lot of the right things right. That's
Well, thank
fantastic. So we've just got a couple more minutes before we wrap up. So if you were coaching me as a young person coming into the business, what are some of the key things you would want to leave me with, and for the folks that are watching?
Number one is understand and get to understand the strategy of an organization. Live that strategy, live the vision, live the values. And if you see somewhere where you do not align and you cannot correct that, then really look at alternatives. So that, to me, is a number one. Is if you don't understand the strategy, then ask questions. And if you don't align with what the vision, the values, or if there is not an understanding, and you don't see a fit, then really look, because you spend so much time at work. You gotta love what you do, and that's the key, is finding something that you love. And really within our organization, what we look for is people that enjoy coming into work every day because they see a fit between us and their values.
Well, and I think that's really the most important advice you can give anybody, regardless of age, frankly, is find a place where your values align with the values of the organization. And frankly, it's not work, it's something you enjoy every day. It's all the time we have for today. Thanks, Marcia, for joining me and sharing your insights and experiences so freely. For more on the show and to share your feedback, go to rogerstv.com. You can also connect with me online at billhogg.ca, where you'll find lots of information and articles on building a high-performing work environment, or to simply ask a question. Thank you for joining us. Our goal is to inspire leaders like you to accelerate performance. Best wishes for your continuous improvement.
Thank you.